Our story begins in 2005. Kun Gulf was working as a contractor and consultant. One day he received a call from a strange number. An elderly man with a raspy voice hired him for a job and gave him the coordinates to a house at the end of a dead-end alley in Bangkok. Gulf drove there in the late afternoon. The alley was deep and deserted. At the very end stood a dilapidated house with a white fence. He tried calling the old man, but there was no signal. He rang the bell, but nobody answered. Just as he turned around to get back into his car, he caught something out of the corner of his eye. Across the street, standing perfectly still in the growing shadows, was a man. The man was just staring at Gulf, dead-eyed, silent. Gulf felt a chill run down his spine, jumped in his car, and drove off. A few days later, the old man called back, apologizing for missing him, and rescheduled for 6 a.m. the following Saturday. Not wanting to miss the appointment again, Gulf rented a cheap $5 a night motel room right near the alley on Friday night. He set his alarm for 5:30 a.m. The alarm rang. Gulf woke up, groggy, brushed his teeth, and drove to the house. But as he pulled up, he noticed something was wrong. The sky wasn't getting brighter, it was getting darker. It was dusk. He called the old man, no answer. He called a backup number, and someone finally picked up, only to scream, "We are busy, stop calling," and hung up. Frustrated, Gulf drove back toward the city. His best friend called, begging him to come out for drinks to vent about work. Gulf agreed. They sat at the bar drinking until about 1 a.m. His friend noticed Gulf looked exhausted and said, "Dude, are you okay? You have that big meeting on Monday morning." Gulf frowned. "What do you mean Monday? Today is Saturday. I just woke up this morning." His friend stared at him. "Are you crazy? Tonight is Sunday night. It's about to be Monday." Gulf pulled out his phone. The hairs on his arms stood up. His friend was right. The question was, where had Gulf been for the last 48 hours? He had slept through 2 whole days and nights in that cheap motel without waking up once. It was as if someone or something had completely hidden him from the world.
Time passed. Gulf started consulting for a wealthy boss named Hea Singh. But Hea Singh was being tortured by severe nightmares. He kept dreaming about his deceased older brother. In the dreams, the brother was tied up, agonizing in pain, unable to speak. Hea Singh consulted a feng shui master who gave him a chilling instruction. You have to dig up your brother's corpse. The exhumation was set for 3:07 a.m., exactly the opposite time of day he was buried. Gulf went to support his boss. When the grave diggers opened the coffin, everyone froze. The corpse wasn't lying on its back. It had been flipped face down. Its hands were tied behind its back, and its legs were bound as if forced to kneel. But the most horrifying part? When they turned the face around, the corpse's lips had been stitched shut with thick thread. Someone had cursed the brother's soul so he could never rest. They had to cut the ropes, bathe the body in holy water, and rebury him properly. Months later, Hea Singh bought a massive vacation home to renovate. Curiously, the construction workers refused to work during the day. They said whenever they tried to take a nap, invisible hands would pull their legs and footsteps echoed everywhere. They only felt safe working at night. One night, Gulf went to inspect the second floor. The house had a grand, sweeping staircase. As he walked up to the landing, he saw a beautiful female worker fixing some wires. He followed her up, but as she turned a corner, Gulf looked back and saw a terrifying old woman staring at him from the banister. The moment they made eye contact, bam! Every light in the house went out. But it wasn't pitch black. The environment completely shifted. The dusty construction site was gone. The house was pristine, glowing with warm lights, and there was a party going on. Gulf looked across the second-floor balcony. Standing there in a line were 19 people dressed in vintage clothing, and all 19 of them were staring dead at him. He looked down to the first floor. The beautiful woman he had just seen was there. She raised a glass of wine, smiled at him, and then, crash! A heavy steel scaffolding pipe fell from the ceiling, smashing directly into Gulf's head. The vision vanished. He was back in the dark construction site, bleeding out.
Gulf survived the head injury, but the dark forces weren't done with him. One afternoon, he was driving on the highway when his right eye suddenly went completely blurry. He couldn't see a thing. He closed his right eye, planning to pull over at the next gas station using just his left eye, but suddenly, he felt two freezing, invisible hands reach from the back seat and cover his left eye. Total darkness. He panicked, swatting at his face, but there was nothing there. Blinded at highway speeds, his instinct kicked in, and he slammed on the brakes. Smash! Gulf rear-ended an 18-wheeler. The front of his car was crushed like a soda can, pinning his chest and shattering his legs. He survived, but he spent 6 months in a hospital bed and could not walk for 3 years. He also suffered severe amnesia. Desperate, his friends eventually took him across the border to Myanmar to see a traditional shaman. The shaman told Gulf to lie down. He began chanting, pressing his thumbs deep into Gulf's paralyzed leg. As the chanting grew louder, Gulf watched in horror as a lump formed under his skin. It was moving. The shaman pushed the lump down Gulf's leg toward his foot and pulled it out through the skin. It wasn't blood. It was a rotting black piece of cloth used to wrap corpses, tangled with dead human hair and reeking of corpse oil. It was purely concentrated black magic. The shaman told him, "A dark sorcerer tried to kill you, but your guardian protected you. The magic couldn't take your life, so it took your legs instead." That very day, for the first time in 3 years, Gulf stood up and walked.
During those 3 years of being paralyzed, Gulf had taken up deep meditation. And in that meditative state, he began to remember his past lives. In his first vision, he was an orphan named Plek in ancient times, raised to be a soldier by a great commander. During a massive war, the commander's elephant was ambushed. Plek threw himself in front of a sword meant for the elephant. His arm was nearly severed and his eye was blinded. Because the army had to retreat, the commander couldn't save him. Weeping, the commander tied a magical cloth around Plek's bleeding arm and left him to die on the battlefield. Plek died feeling nothing but loyalty to his boss. In another vision, he was reborn into a wealthy Chinese family, the very same family that owned the 19-spirit house. In this life, he was named Kunlek. When he discovered his stepmother was poisoning his father, her thugs beat him half to death and threw him in a river. He was saved by a passing stranger, a kind Chinese merchant. Kunlek swore he would repay this man's kindness in his next life. These visions played in Gulf's head like a movie, but he didn't know what they meant until one phone call tied everything together.
Remember the old man from the very beginning of the story?
The one Gulf was supposed to meet but lost 2 days in a motel instead? In 2006, Gulf got a call from that old man's son. He said, "My father recently passed away. He was a master astrologer. Before he died, he looked into his own karma and realized he owed you a massive debt from a past life. He ordered me to transfer a specific amount of money to you." Gulf gave him a bank account number. When the transfer came through, Gulf was utterly confused by the amount. It wasn't a round number. It was exactly 30,654 baht. Gulf kept that number in the back of his mind for years. Fast forward a decade, Gulf is fully healed, married, and has a young son. One day, Gulf was filling out some school paperwork for his boy, writing down his son's date of birth. His son was born on June 30th in the Thai year 2554. Day 30, month 06, year 54. 30/06/54. The exact number the astrologer had paid him years before his son was even born. And then all the puzzle pieces slammed into place. Gulf's son has a large birthmark on his right arm in the exact same spot where Nai Plek had his arm slashed in his past life. His son is the reincarnation of the ancient commander, born to be loved and cared for by Gulf in this life. Hia Sing, the boss Gulf worked for so hard, was the reincarnation of the Chinese merchant who pulled him out of the river. Gulf was repaying his life debt by serving him. And the old astrologer, in a past life, he was the greedy sibling who stole Gulf's inheritance. The 30,654 baht was the exact karmic debt he had to repay before his soul could move on. So, why did Gulf lose those 2 days in the motel? Because the astrologer was a dark magic practitioner who originally intended to curse Gulf. The guardian spirit, the old commander, put Gulf into a deep sleep, hiding him from the dark magic until the astrologer passed away. We meet thousands of people in our lives. Some break our hearts, some save our lives, and some become our family. But if Kun Gulf's story teaches us anything, it's that none of it is an accident. We are all just walking in a circle, paying off debts from lifetimes we don't even remember. Thank you for listening.